So can you guys remind me, why do we use hidden lines? Exactly, to see internals, to see cuts that we cannot see directly from that plane. So for example, in order to do that, in order to see hidden lines, there's from the view toolbar here, there's a kind of cube, half full, half empty. It's called display style. So if you click on the drop down menu, so we're mainly going to be dealing with two things. The first one, so the first option on here is called shaded with edges, or also known as isometric solid. The second one from the bottom is called hidden lines visible. So if I click on that, notice how I'm able to kind of see through it. Okay, I can see the edges that were not apparent to me from that side. So in some homework problems, I'm going to tell you, hey, turn in your homework in isometric hidden. That's what you're basically turning it in. Okay? So you want to make sure that you hit spacebar, isometric, and you can see it in that way. Okay, any questions so far? Yes?
My lines are kind of like, it's selected, but it's just very, very, very dim. So
yeah, talk to me after class. Okay, so sometimes your display might not be the same as mine. The reason for that is when you installed it, SolidWorks will optimize depending on your video card. Okay, so these computers are actually very expensive and have a very high processor and video card for this purpose specifically. But sometimes if your laptop does not have a good video card, these lines might be faded. Now what I usually try to do is I try to give you the template that I use, and hoping that your video card will actually understand that. But sometimes it might not work. So that's why I'm telling you to talk to me after class. Okay? Okay, let's go back to the solid view. Okay? And I want you to click on this plane. Now I want to draw on this plane. So if I want to see that plane directly, head on, I'm going to click spacebar, normal 2. Okay? Clear? Alright. So now what we need to do is I'm going to draw a circle that is located here in the center. Well, one of the possibilities is I can go ahead and just click on circle, and I can draw it here in the center, and I can just draw a circle somewhere basically on that shape, on that face. And notice that it's blue, so I can still move it around, and if I grab the circumference, I can still move it out, I can still change the radius. Now one of the ways to fix this is, okay, I can say that I know that this is 6 by 6. Okay? So if I know 6 by 6 and I want to center this, that means this should be 3 inches away from the side, correct? So I can go to Smart Dimension, and usually whenever I click on the circumference, if I click on the circumference, what I have is, I'm going to get basically the diameter of that circle. So if I click on the circumference, and I say, okay, let's say this is going to be 2.5, so that means the diameter is 2.5. Now if I want to specify a distance between two things, right? So if I want to specify the distance between two things, for example, the distance between this point and this line, all I have to do is I click on the point, and then I come over and I click on the line. So not click and drag, just click, release, and then I click on this line, and notice I can actually get an X distance in between them. Okay? Is that clear? Now let's go ahead, since it's 6, to make it 3. Okay? Now I'm going to do the same thing from the bottom. So from here to here, I'm going to dimension this to also be 3. Any questions so far? So now is my sketch fully defined? Okay, so remember, every time I'm drawing a sketch, I should be in sketch mode. I should see the X and the purple arrow here on the top. If I'm not seeing those, so basically if you see something like this, that means your lines are a gray color. That means you're not in sketch mode. Every change that you actually apply is just a fake change. It just looks that it's there, but it's not really being applied. So in case you actually exited out of a sketch, it's very easy to go back in. All you have to do is you just right click on Sketch 2, and you click on the first icon here that says Edit Sketch. Okay? And we're back in. Now if you want to modify any of those dimensions, all you have to do is double click on it, and let's say this is 3. Okay, so you double click on it, and that opens up a new window. and you can put the number in there. Okay? Are we good?
So is the circle actually 3?
Yes, let's go for 3. So now I'm going to go ahead and extrude cut by about 2 inches. So I'm going to go to features. Now notice that I already have material in there, so one of the options that got added is called extruded cut. So I'm going to click on extrude cut. And then notice that I cannot really see it in 3D, so I'm not really sure how much is it cutting. I mean, I can see the number here, of course, but if you're a more visual person like I am, I can click on spacebar, isometric, and I can see how much we're cutting. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut this by 2 inches. And hit check mark. Okay? Are we good? Now I want you to turn this to the other side. And I want you to select this face. Okay, again, spacebar, normal to. So now we're on the opposite side of it. Now I'm going to show you the exact same thing that we just did, right, using dimensions. But I'm going to show you something really cool called construction lines and how can we deal with those, right? Because we're going to be using them a lot, so it's really kind of helpful to use them. So one of the options that we need to do is we're going to go to Sketch and we're going to click on Line. Okay? Now your construction line can either be finite, that means they have a specific distance, like from point A to point B, or infinite, so they could go on forever. So, and the way we do them is we click on Line, and there's 2 check boxes here under Options. So we need to make sure that we click on For Construction and Infinite. Okay? And if we hover over an edge, we should be able to see the midpoint. So notice what I just did. I just simplified my problem a bit. Instead of going back and adding a dimension, I just use a relation that already exists. Okay? So I'm going to click here, and then notice I see yellow lines. Those yellow lines represent a preview of possible combination. So if I just kind of like make it line up with this vertical Y line, and then I click one more time, and then hit Escape, your construction lines have to be black. I cannot emphasize that enough. Okay? If you have blue construction lines, forget about it. Nothing's going to work afterwards. Because everything that, I mean, think about it. If you have a ground that's moving, can you really build any tower on it or a bridge? No, right? Construction lines is kind of like your foundation. Okay, so if your foundation is not fixed, then anything that's built with respect to that foundation is also going to be moving. Okay? Yes? The midpoint?
Well, I just pressed the line. We got the options.
Okay, so line, For Construction, Infinite.
Mine doesn't pop up on it.
Did you exit out of the previous sketch?
Yeah.
Yeah, click on the face. You have selected plane. Okay, so selected plane, draw a sketch, right? We have to go through that process every time. Okay, so again, we're going to draw it from here. Okay, now let's do another one, but let's do an x-axis this time. So again, we're going to start from here, and we're going to do an x-axis. So now we have an x and y construction system. Yeah, JD.
This one is still blue. How did you get it to black? We tried pushing escape.
Good point. Okay, so let's go through these scenarios. Let's say I started my construction line, and I actually did not start it from the midpoint. I started it from somewhere here. Right? So this construction line does not really have any reference to anything. So I can grab it and I can move it around. Is this the problem that you have? Okay. So one of the options that you can do, which is my favorite, is to simply delete it and do it again. Okay, do it the right way. Or, well, I know this construction lines need to be away from this guy by 3 inches. So why not just put a distance in between them? So I go to Smart Dimension, from here to here, and I can put 3. Okay, then it will become black. Okay, but notice that that 3 was an extra step that I could simply just hit delete and do it again the right way. Okay? So I'm just going to go back and do these since I deleted them. Okay, so we have an X and Y construction system. Remember, after you draw a line, just hit escape and you kind of exit out of it. Now, I'm going to grab a circle and I'm just going to put it somewhere here. Okay? Now, we talked about relations last time briefly, but I want to emphasize the idea of relations. Relations are something that you try to do in order to connect two things together. Now, there's different types of relations. For example, if you select 2 points, some of the relations that could be is coincident. But if you select a point and a line, now I have more options. I could be coincident. I could have the point to me at midpoint. I can do all these different things. Now, if I select 2 lines, even more options. I have parallel, perpendicular, coincident, right? All these things. So the more complex my shape gets, I can get more and more things. Now, I don't want you to memorize all these different kind of relations. It's very simple to just check what is a possible thing. So for example, let's say I want to put this point on this line. All I have to do is I click on the point, I hold down my control key, and I click on the line. So basically what I just did is I selected the entities that I want to link together. Okay, so think about relations as linkage. Okay, now both of them are selected. Now if I come here and I can see add relation, remember, we do not use the anchor sign. I repeat, we do not use the anchor sign. Surprisingly, I'll see still some people using it, but do not use it. But one of the options is coincident. Now, if I click on the circumference of the circle, hold down the control key and click on the line, look at that. Now I have a completely different option. Coincidency is not even possible. It's tangent. Okay? So depending on what shape you deal with, depending on what kind of shapes you're dealing with, there's different types of relations. So I want this point to be over here, so I'm going to click on it, hold down the control key, click on the line, and then click on coincident. And notice how my circle will just pop into place, and I can see this green box over here that represents exactly what is the type of relation. So it shows basically 2 lines with kind of like a ball joint. That means that these 2 are coincident. Okay? Now a simple way of doing it, for coincidency at least, is I can just grab the point and I can drag it until it kind of tells me, hey, yeah, you're coincident right there, and I can release it. Okay? So drag and drop is not the best option, but it is an option. So are we good? Any questions? Do you want to go back? Okay. Yes, we want the circle in the center.
So how do you get it? You click on it and then you hit the control?
So yeah, let me go back. So did you do the first one or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to click on the center, hold down the control key, so keep holding the control key, and then click on the line. Okay, and on the side you should see an option called coincident. Okay, and then do the same thing for the x-axis. So again, click on the point, keep holding down the control key, and click on the x-axis and make it coincident. Okay? Now we're going to go to smart dimension and we're going to make that this guy is, I don't know, let's just let's say 3. Any questions? Yes. Hold on. All right, and we're back. Yes.
The line is showing the center. I'm sitting here
the midpoint. Can you turn your screen? Well, you're not in sketch mode. You need to click on line. You need to select the plane normal to and then click on line.
I'm in normal 2 and I'm online.
Is the sketch mode? You see this on the side?
Yeah. This is what happens when I teach people how to hotkey keyboard. All right, so now we have this circle here, and what we need to do next is do some fun stuff with it, right? This is we did the circle. We know how to add relations, so we're pretty good from that area. Now, one of the things that I want you to notice is we have underdefined and we have defined, right? We kind of talked about these two. Now, what happens? I mean, it's kind of pretty reasonable that there should be an overdefined. So if I go ahead and add a smart dimension here that says, hey, the distance from here to here is actually 3, right? I mean, so what's going to tell me is like, whoa, I already know that. So you don't need to tell me more information. I'm already fully black, I'm fully defined, and you're trying to put more restrictions on me that I can take. So if you do that and you hit OK, you've already like started killing the part. So every time this pops up, I would just hit cancel, and then it would show you a message on the bottom telling you this sketch is no longer overdefined. Okay? So you always want to make sure that red, yellow, gray, and blue are bad. Okay? Now, if you're in red and yellow, that's really bad. Okay? Yeah, I'm not pointing fingers. Okay? But let's go ahead and add 2 more circles here that are actually overlapping. So let's do like a Mickey Mouse. Okay, I'm just going to put 2 circles somewhere here. I don't really care where. I'm just going to put them, I don't know, somewhere there. Now, one of the things that we have to, if we're going to design a Mickey Mouse, right, we have to make sure that the ears are aligned. So let's go ahead and try to click on the center here. Hold down the control key and click on this center and see what kind of relations we can get between those 2 points. So notice that one of the options is called fix. Okay? Merge, by the way, means that you put both of them together. They come together. Horizontal, that means this point will always be horizontal to this point. Makes sense, right? I want the ears to be directly aligned with respect to each other. So I'm going to click horizontal. Now we're going to go ahead and try to add a dimension. So we're going to say smart dimension. Yes? Yes. So I have these 2 circles, and I'm going to click on the center of this circle, hold down the control key, and click on the center of this circle. Okay? And from that, I'm going to hit on horizontal. Great. Now, what we need to do next is we need to specify the distance between these 2. So I can say smart dimension, the distance from here to here is, let's say, 2.75. And the distance from here to here is 1.5. Okay? Is everyone good? All right, so from here what we can do is let's go ahead and add a diameter of these circles, and let's say this is 1.5. Actually, no, let's say it's 2. And let's say this guy is 2 also. But look what I just did. I just used the same dimension on both circles. I should be like, no, come on, let's delete this one. Right, so let's only have one of them. And let's try to add a relation. I just learned how to add a relation. Let's see if there's a possible relation between those 2 circles.
So if I click on this circumference, hold down the control key and click on this circumference, oh, look at that. One of the options here is called equal. So if I click on equal, now they're both linked to each other in regards to the dimension of the diameter. So what happens is if I come here and I double click on this 2, and let's say Eli decides to change the homework on you last minute and you want to make this 2.25, well, guess what? Both of them will become 2.25 because they're linked to each other. Okay, so we're going to click on the circumference of this circle, hold down the control key, click on the circumference of that circle, and make sure that they're equal. Okay? Are we good? So we're going to click on the two circumferences. So click on the first one, hold down the control key, click on the second one, and on the side here we're going to add a relation and we're going to call it equal.
You're still in the circle mode?
You what?
Are you using smart dimensions for that?
No, not smart dimension. Just hit escape from everything. And I'm just clicking on the circumference. I'm just selecting them. So click on the circumference, hold down the control key, and click on the other circumference. So all that I'm doing is I'm just selecting them. I'm not putting dimension on them. Okay? And I'm going to hit equal. So now no matter how much I change this dimension, if I decide to come here, double click on this, and say, hey, this is 2.25, then both of them will become 2.25 automatically. Okay? Now we need one more dimension to make sure this is fully black, so let's do the distance from here to here to be 1.7. And notice now my entire distance, my entire sketch is fully black. Okay? Any questions on this before I move on to the next step? Because the next step is very important. What? My ears, maybe I clicked undo. Oh, this is the what? Yeah, this is the. It's fine. It's fine. That's not my point. Okay?
Get the over define when I try to add that next one.
Hit escape. What are you trying to add?
Just that last line, 1.7 there.
Well, it's already fully black, so you don't need to add anything.
Oh, so I don't have that last
Yeah.
line inside here?
Nope.
Okay.
You probably had a different dimension, a different. You made your circles tangent to the side on the top. Yeah. So you have to delete that because they're not tangent. They should be overlapping. So okay, guys, let's say you want to delete one of those relations, right? You don't want these two circles to be equal anymore. Well, there's a box here that tells you that they're equal. Or you can click on the circle, and over here you can see that the relation is called equal. So if I click on it and hit delete, that will delete the relation. Okay, so that's how you delete a relation. Okay, so now the next big step is actually very important. You have to know how to do it. You have to follow me in order to do the flywheel. Okay? Now on the flywheel, everything is easy on the flywheel except for this notch. Do you see that notch here? What do you think is the diameter of that circle? Nope. I don't actually give you the diameter. What I give you, the 0.22, is actually a distance from the x-axis to the bottom of this rectangle. The circle keeps going up. So that's not really the radius. I give you the distance to the bottom of the rectangle. But using those distances, the 0.22 and the 0.4, you should be able to make the sketch fully defined. Do not pick the size of the radius to be 0.22. If you do that, this will not fit in the crankshaft, and when we try to assemble it, it will cause trouble. Okay? So how can we create this? Well, the first thing we have to think about is, well, this shape is not even part of SolidWorks, right? SolidWorks has circles, it has rectangles, but it doesn't have both of them together. So one of the things I have to think about is, okay, how can I combine multiple shapes to create this complex shape? That's exactly what I'm doing here. I have multiple circles in order to create a more complex circle, more complex shape. Now, the problem is this a good sketch? Have you guys read the PowerPoint? I'm guessing not. Read the PowerPoint. This is a bad sketch. The reason it's a bad sketch is because think about this as a surface on the ground. And I give you a bottle of water and I tell you, go ahead and pour water in this. One of the questions you're going to ask me is, okay, in what section, like think about these as walls. You're going to ask me, what section do I want to pour my water in? I have a section here, I have a section here, I have this big section here, another one here, another one here. So your question should be, where should I pour my water? The same thing is going to be asked by SolidWorks. Okay? It doesn't really know which one you're trying to extrude boss base. So what we have to do, we have to clean up the sketch in such a way that it's a continuous flow. Okay, so we cannot have like overlap just like here. So for example, let's go to Features and click on Extrude Boss Base. You're going to notice that SolidWorks is going to show you this icon on the cursor is going to tell you broken section. Do you see that? It will tell you broken section. And it's basically telling you, hey, what do you want to select? Like, I'm confused. Okay, so you tell SolidWorks, okay, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to hit X. And I'm going to come here, I'm going to try to trim this. So the keyword here is trim. So in case you get stuck and you want to search the help option, trim is the keyword. So how do we do it? We're going to go to the Sketch tab. And there's an option here called Trim Entities. Okay? You see that? Now, think about trim entities. And by the way, there's many options of trim entities. My favorite is Power Trim. You're more than welcome to explore the others, but this is the best to use. Think about trim entities as scissors. Okay? If they cross a specific line, then what's going to happen? It's going to cut it. So look what I'm doing before you start doing it. I'm going to start in an empty spot here. I'm going to click and hold. This is the only option where you actually click and keep clicking. I'm going to move my mouse. Do you see this white path behind me? This is basically where it's cutting, but since it's not crossing any line, right? That means it's not going to cut it. But notice what happens when I cross this line. Snap. Okay? So it's going to snap it to the nearest point. Do you see those nearest points there? Now I'm going to continue one more. There we go. Do not trim your construction lines. Okay? You're laughing. Wait for it. Still laughing. Okay. So, and then again I can do here. Now does this look like a complete sketch? If I tell you, hey, pour water in this, do you have a selection? Or is it just one option? Just one option. It's all open to each other. So now I can say, okay, I'm satisfied with this. I'm going to go to Features, Extrude Boss Base, and I'm going to do that by 1 inch. Okay? And we're going to hit check mark. Alright, I have to say this here because I didn't say it last semester and it created a problem. This is not your engine base. Do not turn in an engine base with a Mickey Mouse sign on it. Okay? This is just a class tutorial. The reason I'm not doing your homework is because it's called homework for you to do at home. Okay? To clear stuff up. Perfect. Okay. You'll be surprised. Okay, any questions so far? Is everything clear? Okay, let's go to the top plane here. And I want you to, again, draw X and Y construction lines. Okay, and I want you to put a circle. Yes, it doesn't really matter. Just pick a face. So, and go ahead and put a circle directly here in the center. and dimension that circle to be 3.5. Actually, let's do it 4. Okay, so everyone should know how to do this. We covered all that. Nothing new. Are we good? Okay, I'm going to give you one more second. I'm actually going to stop recording and start another recording, because this is going to be a long video to upload. Okay, so